Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel and happy Friday morning to you all. Hope you're all having a good day and a good, well, I guess a good start to your weekend, especially if you're on the other side of the world. But obviously in this video, we are going to be doing the preview for the West Ham game, obviously on Sunday. So we'll do that. Obviously, we'll know a lot more about the weekend's game from when Ange talks, but we'll be talking about as well as a report surrounding Manor Solomon and interest, not only from Leeds to make his deal permanent, but also other teams. And we're also going to be talking about Fabio Paratici potentially staying on and finishing his job. You'll see it on me when I get to it. Obviously, hope we're all okay and happy after yesterday's game. Obviously, it was a good night. It was a good night, and I understand that there are some people that are worried about the second leg and what may come of it. For me, as I've sort of said yesterday, and if you don't know, I did the review yesterday, so go and check it out if you've missed it. I think had we probably been offered 2 goals, we probably would have taken it and moved on with it, and we did. We played very well. And, with these games like West Ham and the games previous after or between ties or after Europa League games, it's a really good opportunity for players to step up, get more minutes that maybe they haven't had much of recently. It's good to get players who have maybe played a little bit too much, a little bit of rest. It's also a good opportunity for players to build some self-confidence and a little bit of form within themselves. I think what we've seen over the last few weeks is when we've played these games is some players that maybe aren't your regular starters coming in and playing minutes and actually benefiting from it. I think Richarlison is a big one. He scored a couple of goals for Spurs really through those games when Solanke has been on the bench or rested. And he came on yesterday and he gets the assist, 37 seconds or whatever it is that it was that we scored. So he gets the assist for that and he played very well. And, it was a tactical change Ange made at halftime. I expect Richie to maybe get some minutes at the weekend, maybe get on the score sheet, build a little bit of form. We've looked at Matisse Tell. His form has developed quite a bit. He has improved quite a bit. And actually, I think that's purely down to the fact, yes, Son has missed time through injury, but also he has played in these sort of games. It's an opportunity for other players, to try and stake a claim to first team spots. I think Johnson's benefited from these sort of games. Odegaard can, Pape, Jed Spence. Yeah, but also it's an opportunity for players like Kevin Danso that if there was an injury to the centre backs area, Big Kev would come in and we'd feel all right because he's had a bit of form. So it's an opportunity to look at all these things. Now, West Ham, obviously, it's a London derby. These games are obviously hotly contested, but for these two teams who are 16th and 17th, in reality, there's nothing really to play for these two teams. If you get a few places up the league, maybe it's a bit more money in terms of, what you could spend in the transfer market. But in reality, there's not much to this game. And I think you'll see Spurs quite heavily rotate this game. I think the benefit for yesterday's game, when you think about it, is obviously we played Forest on the previous Monday, the week before. We then obviously played on the Sunday at Liverpool at Anfield. And then obviously we play on the Thursday. But if you think about it, how many players in that week period played serious minutes? Well, if they played serious minutes, it was probably more so them playing against Nottingham Forest. So now when you think about it, they had 10 days rest or 9 days rest or whatever it may have been, something in that realm, right? 8 to 10 days rest. You'll see, I think, something similar where they'll look at it and go, we've got a week till the second leg. We've got to travel. We've got to play on a different surface. A lot of those things sort of come into to play. I mean, everyone just sort of thinks it's an away game, but there's things that go into an away game. The irony for this away game is that at least it's in London and it's not too bad, in terms of travel time. But obviously, we are going to Norway, so I think that's a factor in there. Now, I expect wholesale changes. Vic might be a goalkeeper. Is what it is on that. But you'd expect Jed Spence to come in. I would see Destiny Doggy probably rested for this game. Danso and Davies probably centre back pairing. You'd expect Archie Gray to come in there somewhere. Pape Matasar. I think Kulusevski may start. I don't think Kulu would play big minutes, but I think depending on the situations with Madison and players like, Solanke, I think they'll want to get some minutes to players that are going to be important for that second leg, but not overdo it. You got to find that balance, which I think they actually did. I think they did find that balance last week going into yesterday's game. Obviously, I expect Odegaard to play. I'd expect Odegaard to start, probably the right wing. I could see Richarlison maybe getting a 45 kind of vibe, and then, maybe Tell plays the second half at striker, and, you might get a little bit of Mikey Moore. But I think Tell will probably start on the left wing. Again, build up some form there. It is a question mark on that left wing because obviously with Son, we don't truly know Son's situation right now. Obviously, he's been training on grass. He's been training away from the first team just now. What would he look like for the second leg? Is he all right to play in the second leg? Then if he is, and he's all right to give you 60 minutes, right? Let's say, Son is obviously one of the fitter players in our squad. If he give you 60 minutes, all right, well, then you play Tell comes on for the last half an hour sort of thing, right? And if he's fit, he's got to be fit. I'm not talking about he's got a few niggles, but he can give you 60 minutes. I mean, fit, healthy, ready to rock and roll. Then, okay, 60 minutes. If not, switch him, play Tell for 60, you play Sonny for 30, and just let Son run around for 30 minutes causing havoc, because that's what he can do. By the way, morning to you. I haven't missed any of your comments. Sonia, Dragon Spurs, Steve, Simo, Eric, Jared, Tell Cockerell. How are we all? And James, obviously. I'm good, mate. How are you? So, look, I expect a lot of changes. I'd expect maybe some first teamers to play, though. I think let's not shy away from the idea that there might be some first teamers playing. But, Mickey and Kuti, just don't even bother. It's just not worth our time. Jed Spence for Destiny. Destiny's looked brilliant in the Europa League those last 3 games. He's looked absolutely phenomenal. And I think a big part of it for at least the first 2 of those 3 was that he was getting time rested ahead of those games. So rest him again. Play Jed Spence. Jed is solid. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, with Madison and Solanke, we need to be wary of their situations. Now, Ange said yesterday that their injuries were not serious. They just they felt something and it wasn't worth the risk of playing them on. But obviously, overnight, inflammation might set in. You start to get to see what the actual issue is. Obviously, sleep is a phenomenal healer of things as well. So there's that. So all these things factor in. I wouldn't have expected to see him at this weekend anyway, though. Madison, Romero, Mickey, Solanke, Destiny. If Son was healthy and fit, I wouldn't expect to see Son. I would expect to see, and Bentancur even maybe, I would expect to see quite a few changes, if I'm honest. And even with a few sort of issues injury-wise, we will do the same thing and rotate. Faz, mate, how are you? Is there any... I'm good, thanks. Have you got a summer fruit squash? Not today, mate. I've not long come in from the gym, so I've not had the chance to settle in. Aircon right up. It's a warm one today, mate. I've not got the fan on, but it might go on in a minute. That's for sure. So look, I looking at some of the stats and things for this game. I always like to bring you some cool ones. West Ham are unbeaten in the last 4 Premier League home games against Spurs, winning 2, drawing 2. Following their 4-1 win in the reverse fixture, Tottenham are looking to the double over West Ham for the first time since the 1920 season. Since Graham Potter's first Premier League game in charge of West Ham, only Southampton have dropped more points from winning positions. They've dropped 12 in that time and failing to win any of the last 4 when they've gone ahead, where they've drawn 3 and lost 1. That's quite a stat and a half. So again, I think that's probably a factor in here. I mean, this season, ironically, they are a point below us in the league. This season, they've won 9, drawn 9, lost 16. They've scored 39 in that 34 games, and they've conceded 54 4. So, they're a team that I always thought of as a decent defensive side. Definitely seem to have gotten a lot worse. I mean, they've conceded more goals than us, and we've been playing centre mids at centre half, which is always a bad sign for them. Obviously, we're a point ahead, having won 2 more games, but they've drawn 5 more than us. We've lost 3 more. We've scored 62 and we conceded 56. Still got a goal difference of +6, by the way, which is better than 7th, 8th, 9th, 11th. All the teams actually above us up to 11th. Bournemouth are the better one than us, and then it's better than 7th to 9th. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? I still look at it. I just still find it's absolutely ridiculous. If I'm honest, I probably would say a draw in this game is kind of my thinking. I just think 1-0 is my thinking. We'll sort of see. Obviously, a little more on team news, but I'm expecting changes. So factoring that, I'm going to go 1-0 is my shout. I'll go Matisse Tell to score the goal as well. I like what I've seen from Matisse Tell. I know that some people obviously love Mikey Moore and things like that. I get it. I'm not denying that he's an exciting talent. But Matisse really probably needs the minutes more right this second. 9% chance Bergvall and Son seasons are based over the source of the info. Simo, mate, the way I look at it is just wait for someone from the club to say something. That's the way I look at it now. I try not to get bent out of shape about things, good or bad. Always take it with a massive pinch of salt. If Ange goes, their season's done, their season's done. But also Ange has been saying Son's been on grass training. So that doesn't make me think his season's done. The season still has, 3 weeks to go? Because we've obviously got Brighton, I think it's on the 24th of May. It's the Sunday, last game of the season. So I'm just going to wait for Ange to say something. We'll know a lot more about their injuries, especially Madison Solanke. We'll know a lot more today. I expect Ange to have a presser. There's a hair on my camera. Apologies. As well as obviously Bergvall. Bergvall's injury happened 2 days ago. They're not going to know too much about it that quickly. And also Sonny as well. We'll have to wait and see on him. But look, I think 1-0. What do we all think? Win, lose, draw, scoreline, goal scorers. What do we think? I'm thinking 3-1. I've gone Matisse Tell. Sorry, 3-1. I said 1-0. I meant 1-0. I've gone Matisse Tell though. I do think Matisse will have a big game for us. And again, like I said, it's an opportunity for some of these players to build their own self-confidence. Build the self-confidence, and then you integrate and add that to a group that, look, I think a lot of people go, how can this team be confident? How can this team have any mojo and blah, blah, blah? Tell me and look at me dead in the eye and tell me that the Europa League form hasn't been good. It has been. So they have confidence in Europe. Okay, maybe in the league it's not been as easy, but they have confidence in Europe. Yesterday will add to that massively. Again, like I said, if you go to the second leg and you just do your job, you will be through. You don't have to do anything mental in the second leg. Just do your job. Defend well. Be smart. Do all the little things and you'll go through. Simple as that for me. 2-0 West Ham. Tel Coquerel reckons 2-1 Spurs. Jarrah reckons we lose by 1. Sonia draw 2-2. Richie and Tel. If you got any away day for Spurs in Europe, where would it be, Andy? I've been to the San Siro. I think like Celtic Park. It's a great atmosphere. It's a phenomenal atmosphere. Obviously, a good team in Scotland. I think Celtic Park would be where I think is a good shout. I think a lot of people will go the Bernabeu and things like that, and it's like, yeah, it's a boring answer. The atmosphere is not nearly as good as a lot of places in Europe, whereas Celtic Park has always been renowned, and the Ibrox both being renowned as phenomenal atmospheres. So yeah, I'd probably say Celtic Park. I hope our fans don't throw their toys out the pram. If any reason we lose again and drop 17th, we need to stay focused for Thursday. Mate, even if we won, people would still find a way to be upset. People were upset with the game yesterday. 3-1, European tie, first leg of a semi-final game. People still were upset about. I mean, there was someone in here saying that he found the game boring. And I was like, I just don't understand it. I don't understand some people. I think they just like to be miserable. They like to say things that are going to agitate people to get a reaction from them. And maybe that's what they live on. But, you know, I've gone 1-0. That's kind of my thinking. But like Amorim said with Man United, Amorim has said, we just do not care about the Premier League because it's going to do nothing for us. We care about the Europa League. We want to win the Europa League. And that was before the first leg yesterday. I mean, Man United this weekend. Let's have a quick little look at who Man United are playing this weekend. Brentford away on Sunday. You already know Man United are going to heavily rotate. And their fans probably understand it's realistic and logical to do such a thing. And I hope we do the same. I actually hope we have a heavy rotation. I hope we rotate 6 or 7 players. I'd look at, the centre backs. I'd look at the left back. I'd look at one of the, at least, I mean, Maddison and Solanke are going to be forced changes in my opinion anyway. But, looking at some of these players and going, just go to Norway now. We'll see you when we see you. You're not playing. We don't want to see you play. In a nice way, obviously. I don't want to see them play. We'll see you in Norway kind of thing. That's the way I would look at it. But here we go. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk some transfer news because we've got some updates on Manor Solomon and Fabio Paratici, which I'm going to start with Manor Solomon. James Marshman through Team Talk, this is interesting, saying that Manor Solomon has been told he is free to leave Spurs this summer for the right price, according to Fraser Fletcher. The winger himself is happy to make his stay at Leeds permanent. Hopes are growing that a deal can be finalised. Obviously, Manor's having a really solid loan spell. He's been one of their better players at Leeds this season. And I think it's been massive. Obviously, last game of the Championship season is on Saturday lunchtime, tomorrow lunchtime. And obviously then there's playoffs and things like that. But Saturday lunchtime, I think it's 12:30 kickoff. All of them are all playing. They play away at Plymouth. And obviously they're currently leading the Championship on goal difference. So they need to match. They basically just need to match the result that Burnley have. Burnley are at home. They're at home. I can't remember who it's to. But yeah, they're away at Plymouth. They're obviously towards the bottom of the league. It says that we understand that Spurs are open to Solomon's sale as they look to generate funds for a crucial chance window of their own. They want to strengthen in multiple areas, and that will happen whether Ange stays or goes. It goes on to talk about his potential move. And it says that Leeds are now very keen to sign him permanently, and the fee that Tottenham will demand is expected to be within reach of them. Spurs' priority to get him off the books. Solomon's indicated that he would like to set Leeds if they can seal promotion, which obviously is now secured. Now, that's not the only thing is there, because apparently there's competition. Everton have been watching Solomon this season and do like the look of him, but it's not sure if they'll launch a bid or not. Apparently there are other Premier League sides and some in Europe, but Leeds are in the driving seat. Now, look, I think he will be gone. I do. I think it makes sense. Obviously, I know obviously, Ange being here or not, super relevant, all right? Because if Ange was here and didn't want him, he would be sold. But the next manager coming in may really like Solomon and want him to stay, and then he is going to stay. He won't be sold. So obviously, very much as we do with all transfers, it depends on who the manager is next season. Now, on the face of things, on the surface, I think he will be sold. Now, if I said a little while ago, I say you get 10 million. That was probably about 6 weeks ago. I said you get about 10 million and that'll be all right. He's since then scored and assisted quite a few times, and he's won them games through his play, through the goals or the goal contributions, that the figure must be around 15 million now. And if tomorrow brings, another goal contribution, I mean, this season, I know I do it on my loan roundups on every Tuesday, which, by the way, next Tuesday will probably be my last full loan roundup of the season, which devastated. I bloody love loan roundup Tuesdays. This season, in all competitions, he has 22 goal contributions in 40 games. So, yeah, 15 million is a minimum for me personally. If you can get more, you get more, but 15 million, I think so, is I think where we'll be. Martin, how are you, my friends? I see Solomon being around sold 15 million, as that's pure profit due not to have it purchase him, what we did due to the war in Ukraine. 15 million is okay. Nice deal for everyone. Yeah, I think 15 million is about right. Obviously, you've got to think they're coming up to the Premier League next season. Financial fair play, they should have no concerns. Obviously, last season, because they lost in the playoff final, they kind of went for it in terms of it. If we can come straight back up, we won't really need to sell anyone. Due to the fact they obviously didn't do that, then they had to probably look to sell Archie Gray due to financial fair play. This summer won't have that issue. They'll have some money to spend. Leeds fans seem to rate Solomon as well, which I think helps because they've obviously got a massive voice in a lot of what their transfer dealings is. So I think about 15 minutes is about right. I don't think it's unrealistic. Obviously, Spurs got a lot of years left on his contract, so you factor that in. But I think 15 million, if they go, look, we're going to do 15 million, I think you take it and you just wash your hands. You don't have to try and eke out every single penny. If we're cash strapped, you eking out every single penny and you holding on to him for another month to 6 weeks, you probably only make up the extra fee that you'd have made on the transfer fee just because of his wages. You only draw level. You see what I mean? Do you think Spencer's better on the left or the right? Probably the left. I don't think his crossing seems to be. He doesn't seem to cross well enough when he's on the right compared to the left. Not sure, Graham. Good for Solomon. He found a home. He's performing. Plus, they're promoted. It's a win-win for him. Yeah, he's back in the Premier League. They're back in the Premier League. Obviously, they could win the Championship next season. I mean, about what? 24 hours and 45 minutes basically till kickoff tomorrow. That'd be massive if they win it. They'd be massive for it. Ronan went for 15, Solomon should be more. Ronan, I think, went for 10. I think he went for 10. So I think Solomon's 15. I don't, look, we don't need to be fighting to get every single penny on this sort of deal. All right. Moving a little bit on because we're going to talk Fabio Paratici. And it came from Graham Bailey saying that TBR Football understands that Fabio Paratici has agreed terms over a return to Tottenham Hotspur. Paratici is set to be part of a new-look Spurs footballing department from July, along with the new CEO, Vinay Venkatesham. Venkatesham? Not sure I say his last name. I'll get there, but Vinay. We'll go with Vinay. It was talking about it in the article, and it says that he's agreed terms to rejoin Tottenham. Apparently in March, Daniel Levy told Paratici that he wanted him to return and to finish what you started. He is apparently allowed. He can't officially start work until the 1st of July. That's not far away. Less than 2 months to go, and he's ready to start working again, like officially without any ban. That would have been 30 months. Mental how quickly that's kind of gone around. I don't. Right. Let me add to this. I don't hate this deal in regards to. I think Fabio has a good eye for younger talent because he signed some good players in that regards. I think obviously Johan has signed some really decent youngsters. Fabio Paratici has contacts all across world football, which I think that's on its own, super valuable. I've always been really fair with it though with Fabio, as he's obviously signed some very talented players, and he has. He also, and I'm going to be really nice about this, because he signed some good players. He stinks at selling players. Like he is so rubbish at selling players. And that was one of the big things is when I was talking to my friend who's a Juventus fan, when we first got Fabio Paratici, he went, look, he is active. He's going to be busy in the transfer markets. He's going to work tirelessly to do it. He's going to get you some really good players. And I went, okay, good. I said, what are the negative? He went, biggest negative? He struggles to sell players. He struggles to get value for the players being sold as well. So I thought, him and Daniel Levy will have a perfect relationship, and it hasn't worked. In terms of the selling of players, it still hasn't worked. So hopefully, if he's going to come into, I mean, what it means for Johan Lang, obviously we don't know, but Johan's been having to clear up quite a bit of his mess that he left. Obviously, I know he had to leave maybe fairly abruptly, but the mess that he left when it comes to selling of players. Brian Hill still out on loan, Tanguy and Dombele that we had to pay off to get rid of. All those things. Even Joe Rodon. Yeah, that was an easy one. Jed Spence was going out on loan every other day. So look, I think it is what it is on that. If Johan is staying, then you know that your exodus that you're going to get the summer. If you think about it, Solomon could be gone, Hill could be gone. What happens in with the first team? We still have talks about Richie. We still have talks about Basuma. One good performance doesn't fix everything. By the way, I understand that. Will there be other first teamers to go? What happens with Romero and Bentancur? We don't know. There's a lot of questions all across there. Now, Bentancur's hit some form recently, but there's a lot that still needs to happen. Even this summer, there's still a lot needs to happen. What happens with Alejo Veliz? What happens with a lot of these sort of players? We'll have to wait and see. Fabio is good at some things and he's not good at others. And I think Johan's probably good at some things and not good at others. And together, they're kind of probably perfect. So we'll wait and see on that side of things if Johan stays. We don't truly know. Obviously, we don't know what happens with Scott Munn. I think Scott's probably done and I think he's gone when Vinay starts. But we'll have to see on that, Everyone says we should go for more, but why 15 million is pure profit as we didn't pay a single penny for Solomon? Boris, I just think 15 million is a fair price for everyone involved, to be honest, And I think it's good money. It's a good move for him, a move that he wants as well. It's not like you're forcing the player out of your club. It's a move that he'd be happy with. They want him. Leeds, I'm talking about. The fans like him there. He's been brilliant for them this season, the championship. We make 15 million for a player that we're not going to use. It's good money for us as well. Everyone wins in this deal. The only people that probably don't win is the teams that might want him that aren't Leeds, and they can't sign him because maybe Leeds get him. But I think everyone wins in that deal. Probably for Fabio is he can't sell players. There you go. We've been terrible at selling players all times. Only decent ones have been Kane. That's it. Oliver Skip. Give Johan Lang some absolute loving for the Oliver Skip deal. 27.5 million. Doesn't even start at Leicester. He sold Harry Winks for 10 million. He doesn't start at Leicester. He made nearly 40 million on those two players. That's cracking business. Yeah, but it's also, not only selling of players, it's correct loan deals for players. You look at the reward of the loan system that we've had this year with Jamie Donnelly and Josh Keeley out at Leyton Orient. You watch the loan roundups, how they do. But Manor Solomon, his loan deal has worked tremendously well, and Spurs and Leeds have a good working relationship. You think of Archie Gray, you think of Joe Rodon, but Joe Rodon also went on loan for the season before that. Jed Spence went on loan there as well for the 6 months. Then Joe Rodon gets sold there permanently. We buy Archie Gray. We also loan Manor Solomon. That's what Rodon twice. Spence, Solomon, 4 players have gone there in the last couple of years. We've brought one from them to us. I counted Joe Rodon twice, by the way, if you didn't work that one out. That's a lot of business between the two clubs. So there seems to be a solid working relationship there. So I don't think Leeds are going to come to the table for Manor Solomon and offer us 5 million. They're not going to. They just know it's not going to work. They try and work with us pretty quickly and get the deal done. Because I think Leeds are going to want to do a little bit of business this summer. Sort of listening to some Leeds fans, I think they're in for a big summer. Some of them want their manager gone, by the way, which is something else. But they're going to be active this summer, and Manor Solomon feels like an easy deal for them to do. And I think that's why we won't be struggling to move Manor Solomon. I think Brian Hill, he'll move to Girona this summer permanently. They won't pick up the 15 million euro buy option, but I think Spurs will probably come to the table and work with them a little bit. I don't think Spurs are going to sit there and go, no, we want that 15 million only. I think they'll come to the table and do some business there. Terry, how are you, my friends? It's been a good day, isn't it? It's nice to see a fair take on Paratici. Too much rose-tinted glasses on his time here. Yeah, like Martin, there's some good stuff. There is. I'm not denying there's some good stuff. Absolutely. There's some bad stuff as well. And that's what happens with all of us in our own jobs. You think of how you are at the office or, the school or the whatever you do as a job. You've stunk up some things and you've done poorly in things. And you've done some things really, really well. It happens, but it's always fair to admit that. It's constructive criticism, not just criticism. Because criticism doesn't work. Constructive does. If we make money on Solomon, the guy from the chat to Nest will be, he won't be happy. I'm not sure what the situation is there on that deal. I am not going to comment because I don't know. And it's not fair for me to comment because I really, really don't know what that situation is. DJ, how are you? Big shout out from last night's game. Nice to have a bloody good breakfast. Win with aspirins and bacon and eggs. Absolutely. Sounds like good breakfast to me, mate. Our loan choices have improved massively since Paratici left. But Paratici, we give credit. He really turned the academy around. So, we are seeing, Luca and Mikey, Will Lancashire and, Mason Mellier is going to come in. They're all, and there's more, by the way. I'm not Ajayi and Hall. There's so many, Dorrington. Yeah, I could go on and on and on. There's so many. They've all really developed because Parachi put so much effort into building up the academy system, and it's been huge. So anywhere, Brian Hill, 8 to 10 million. Yeah, I'd probably say 7 to 10 in that range. I think if it was 8.5 million euros, I think Spurs would take it and just go, it's 8.5 million. We're not going to. He's never going to play for Spurs. 8.5 million. We'll need that, and it's another one that you clear off the books, wages and all that stuff. It's just also the way I look at it is, when you have like a list, right? You have a list of things that you need to do at work, and you've got these 10 things. You go, well, these 2 are nice and easy. We're just going to tick them off. I'm going to do them really quickly in 5 minutes. We're going to tick those things off. Gives you a good, step to, get a good mojo for your day. You tick them off the list because they're easy ones, and then you feel better. And also, you don't have to think about them; they're done now. Manor feels like one that you can get done quite quickly. Brian Hill feels like one that you can get done quite quickly. And just tick them off the list. Just go, boom, boom, brilliant. Right, they're done. Right, moving on. Right, I've got some harder things to do now, but you've got a bit of a mojo to do them. 15 million for Solomon, 10 million for Hill, Højbjerg. I think Højbjerg is 12.5, reaching 17.5, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. I feel so sorry for Hill. If he only got a bit more physical, I always said Brian Hill needed about 10 more pounds of muscle. How long have we had him for, and how much muscle has he really put onto his body? It's just not going to work. That is what it is. It happens. And also, he's not a bad footballer. That's the thing. He's not a bad footballer, but like, he suits other leagues, and there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't. It just happens. So we'll sort of see. But look, we'll keep our eyes out for the rest of the day. Obviously, Ange's press will be out a little bit later today, you'd expect. We'll be back tomorrow morning, though, to talk a lot more about Spurs. All right, don't worry. It's going to be a good weekend. Absolutely booming outside. It's lovely. Go get yourself some sun. Go get yourself hydrated, though, if you're going to go out in the sun. Look after yourselves out there. But look, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Enjoy your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings. Steve, enjoy yourself another beer. You bloody deserve it, mate. And I'll speak to you all tomorrow to talk a lot more about Tottenham. Take care, everyone. Peace.